Dr. Jess Vergis, sir, what are the other alternative therapeutic strategies to combat antimicrobial resistance?
Well, Krishnendu, it's a complicated question and it's very, elaborate, time-taking to answer. So with the permission of panelists and the members, I can present before you in 1 or 2 slides what are the different alternatives of this antimicrobial alternatives. Is it visible? So for getting the alternative antibiotic alternatives, as far as WHO Global Action Plan, what they need is that why we need to resort for antibiotic alternatives. The antibiotic alternatives, again, they should either act alone or synergistically with the antibiotics which are in place. And we need to reduce the chance of developing resistance towards the alternatives, the antibiotics which are commonly in use. And we need to prevent the pathogen colonization in the gastrointestinal tract, again, further to enhance the antimicrobial protection in the host species and to prevent the infection caused by mainly the bacteria and rest by certain viruses also. And we need to protect and maintain the commensal gut flora of the pathogen, and it should be target specific also, because these antibiotics, as you know, are acting upon by the receptor mediated mechanism also. So based upon these requisites, we will be resorting to certain research, promising research based alternatives, which are mainly the phage therapy. The bacteriophages could also be used. Then the lysins, the bacterial endolysins could be used. Then again, the cationic antimicrobial peptides, again, I have worked on this one during my doctoral research program. Those are short cationic peptides which could attack the negatively charged, the negatively zeta potential charged bacterial pathogens, and it could destroy the bacterial pathogens either by membrane permeabilization or the intracellular lysis mechanisms. Again, the probiotics which we have already dealt in the earlier discussion. Then the monoclonal antibodies or the IgY antibodies and the vaccines could also serve as an alternative. Then there are certain predatory bacteria which could also serve as an alternative to antibiotics. We are well aware of the herbs, the medicinal plants, which are being mainly used in ethno-veterinary practices and ethno-medical practices to act synergistically with the antibiotics which are in place to inactivate the enzymes or inhibit the efflux pump mechanism. And recently, the nanotechnology has also taken an upper hand, and these nanoparticles either could be used alone or could be acted as a conjugated molecule as a drug delivery mechanism to act synergistically in this mechanism, which we will be explaining in the subsequent slides and subsequent discussion to come. So these are the common alternatives which we are mainly using, or which the researchers are mainly using in the labs for alternatives.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Jess Vergis, what apart from these therapeutics could be utilized to counter the impact of antimicrobial resistance?
Fine, Krishnendu. Again, it's a bit elaborate answer for that one. I'll sum up with again a slide. The problem of AMR, we need a synergic mechanism which includes the individual level mechanism, the national level or the healthcare professional mechanism, and the policymakers. All of these people have to, or the representatives of these sectors have to come in contact, and they should sit like what we are doing now under an umbrella, and we have to discuss the problems, and we have to sort out those problems, and solutions have to be found for that problem. And in individual level, what I feel is that the hygiene, the water, safe water, sanitation and hygiene is the prominent solution to control the problem of AMR and to control the abusive use of antibiotics. We have to use when it is prescribed by a registered practitioner, never demand, wherein some of the people used to demand antibiotics when even we will be at times we will be in badly need of antibiotics and we'll be demanding to our practitioner. Again, we need to follow the advice of the practitioner and never use the leftover or expired antibiotics, never share the antibiotics. Again, the hand hygiene or the hygiene, where in most of the cases during this pandemics of COVID after this has occurred, the hand hygiene, the levels have increased so much, and the level of resistance, I presume that it has reduced to a certain extent. And so I should suggest the hygiene aspect of the people has to be taken care of, and while we'll be taking to the healthcare professional, because again there could be the nosocomial infections or the picking up of infections from the hospitals. So again, the healthcare professionals, we have to be have to have personal hygiene, the instruments, the catheters. Again, those stents, the catheters are the major source of biofilm associated and antibiotic resistance from hospitals, and they have to be properly made hygienic. Then the R&D, the research and development of newer antibiotics or molecules or vaccines have to be taken care of, because for a long couple of years, I think after 1987, rarely 2 or 3 classes of antibiotics have been discovered so far, and the pipeline is getting dwindled. So we need to resort more towards the research and development aspects of the antibiotic discovery, and the reporting of these mechanisms to the surveillance team has to be taken care. And after all, the hygiene is the most important clue to this answer, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to Dr. Jess Vergis. Would the diagnostics be of immense use for controlling the public health menace of antimicrobial resistance, sir?
Thank you, Krishnendu. My answer is definitely the diagnostics are of immense use for the control and prevention of this AMR menace in public health perspective. Why? Because as the discussion is, first of all, I would appreciate IVSA, and I am also delighted to see that discussion is progressive in a what you say, in different perspective and in a diverging outlooks are coming up, and it's quite interesting also. And to my answer, the diagnostics has to be resorted depending upon the economy and the funds available for the research. First thing, in developing countries and developed nations or the resource limited nations, the diagnostics are progressing in different angles, because it depends upon the fund of the country or the economic status of the country. So in developed countries, they will be resorting for the diagnostic purpose of antimicrobial resistant pathogens or antimicrobial resistant genes as well, using sophisticated diagnostic tools like PCR, RT-PCR, or the whole genome sequencing techniques. Whereas in case of resource limited nations, we'll be mostly using the colorimetric assays like nitrosamine testing. It's again a chromogenic colorimetric cephalosporin based assay, which is widely used for detection of ESBL producing the extended spectrum beta lactamase producing genes exclusively. And then the disk diffusion assay, the MIC, the microbroth dilution techniques are mainly used for detecting the the levels of antibiotics and its impact also. And to a certain extent, the genotypic assays like PCR, the polymerase chain reaction, and the efflux pump inhibitors, or the effect of the overexpression, could be studied using the real-time PCR-based mechanism. Rarely we go for all genome sequencing, whereas in case of the other part of the world where the funds are or the economy is much more boosted up, they will be using for a sophisticated metagenomics assay or the whole genome sequencing assay, such type of tools. So it's based upon the funds which are available and the economic status of the country. Definitely, the diagnostics are having a great role to play with the public health menace of AMR. Krishna, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Jess Vergis, what, in your opinion, would be the best way to significantly reduce AMR incidents?
Yeah, thanks, Christine. Too. Actually, it is again summarizing part of this the discussion. I mean, concise discussion, wherein we could resort to the alternatives approach. The diagnostics could also be resorted, and it should be used both in medical, veterinary, and environmental setting. In fact, a One Health approach, a win-win approach from both the medical, veterinary, the environmentalists, the ecologists, the wildlife experts, all has to be taken care, and we have to sit around a table and have to throw the questions and find probable answers. The prudent use of antimicrobial agents, the extrapolation or the translational rather of research um, of the researchers from the labs to the land approach could also be used, and over the more the hygiene in different settings could be resorted to for controlling the menace of AMR in public health sector. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.